All right, guys, our next guest is moving up and making this highly anticipated welterweight debut at UFC 232 as he takes on Carlos Condit, owner of one of the best beards of MMA, Michael Chiesa. Welcome back to Submission Radio. How are you today?
Doing well, man. Really good. Really excited for this welterweight debut, man. I think it's been a long time coming. I think that this is something I should have done a long time ago, but I'm really looking forward to it.
I know. Well, there's a lot to touch on. We saw you were obviously up in the Schweizer Mountain Resort in Idaho. We were going to ask. This is something you don't necessarily see fighters do. Taking snow trips away. I guess weeks out before a fight. Is this the normal thing for you? Yeah,
absolutely. My inspiration for those types of activities really comes from Donald Cerrone. My first love ever, the first love of my life was a skateboard. The first time I ever stepped on a skateboard growing up, that was the first thing or person I ever fell in love with. And, as I've gotten into this fighting career and I'm like, you know what? I just perform better when I'm just doing the things I want to do, and the things I want to do aren't bad for me. You know what I mean? And snowboarding is a good activity out there, getting the legs going and stuff. So it's, it was good.
I'm actually a big fan of snowboarding myself as well. Do you ever get worried? Are you ever like, oh God, I'm picking up a lot of speed here. I got to fight like in a couple of weeks when you're going down the mountain on the snowboard?
No, I have a deal with my manager. No jumps, no backflips, none of that stuff. I have a fight contract signed. So if I'm in camp, I just keep my board on the floor and, but once the fight gets over, you can catch me hucking like a madman. So come December 30th, I'm making sure I'm on the early flight home so I can get a half day in on Sunday after the fight if I'm not too banged up.
Can you actually do that crazy stuff? Can you do backflips and all sorts of crazy tricks on the snowboard?
This will be the first year, so I'm really working on sticking my first backflip this year. It's kind of hard when you're tall, really kind of get your body whipped around and tucked, but I've had a couple of decent attempts, but I can do other tricks and stuff too. But this is the year of the backflip. I told my girlfriend, I'm like, this season I'm going to stick one. I'm going to land a backflip, and best believe I'll have it on social media.
Yeah.
Wow. So much to look forward to. Also, a belated birthday to you, Michael. We saw you had some In-N-Out burger to celebrate. Is it true that these were the first ones you've had in 3 years, and is it because of always having to make 155?
Well, they were my first In-N-Out burgers I had in 3 years. So what the story goes, I've only had In-N-Out like 3 times, I think. And the idea came to me when it was fight week for the Jim Miller fight. I was like, dude, for my birthday, I want to go to In-N-Out Burger. My birthday was 3 days before the fight. And my teammate, Sam Cecilia, was just like, dude, you're not getting In-N-Out Burger. You're like 15 pounds overweight. You got weigh-ins. And like, it just kind of turned into this like joking thing. And then me kind of being persistent with it. And he was just like, dude, no, you're not getting In-N-Out Burger. And so I decided, since it was my birthday and he wasn't there, he was, he was in fight week for his fight in Hawaii. I was like, say, Sam, 3 years later, here I am, In-N-Out Burger.
How were they? Were they some of the best burgers you've had now that you have that extra allowance and you don't have to really stress or worry about, making 155?
Dude, they're pretty damn good. But after I ate 3 of those things. Jesus. I ate 3 double in the fries. And when I got done, I was like, dude, I don't think I need In-N-Out Burger for a long time. That was a pretty big gut bomb.
Oh, for sure. No, it does take it out of you. We have to pay anytime we have to have a burger there. Let's talk about the weight cut and the new weight class for you, man. What's it like training and not having to worry about the weight cut? And what's training camp been like for you going into UFC 232 with this new sort of, I suppose, wrinkle in the preparation?
Dude, it's been, the best way to describe it is like, it almost makes me feel guilty that I'm not stressed out the whole camp. I'm so used to being super stressed out the whole training camp. Like it always stems from my weight. You know what I mean? I start stressing about my weight. Then once that starts rolling, then I'm starting to stress about the fight. I'm stressed about, winning. I'm stressed about everything. And this camp has just been like, dude, like I can just focus on my skills. Like, especially in the last, 3 years, the camp has always just been revolving around like cutting weight. You know what I mean? Everything is always like you know, aside from sparring, everything is in sweats. I'm always running. I'm always just like, you know, it's just not, it's been stunting my growth as a fighter. The time that I grow the most as a fighter is when I'm in training camp. I train year round. I'm very adamant about that. But, you know, when I don't have a training camp, I'm just training to have fun. You know what I mean? But when I'm in training camp, that's when I'm really dialing my skills, really focusing on getting better. And, you know, I've been robbing myself of that these last few years. And so this training camp has been just all about getting better. I've been happier. I'm stress-free. Like my family, you know, my family is very happy with my decision. You know, it's hard for them to see. Not only is it hard to have somebody you love that competes as a fighter, but imagine having somebody that not only do they do that, but they also kill themselves cutting weight. You know, a lot of people that see me in person, they're like, "Holy crap, dude! You are the biggest lightweight ever." Now, I don't want to be the biggest lightweight ever. You know what I mean? I don't like that. I want to be. It's either I need to keep killing myself to be just this small bag of bones to fight at 155, or focus on being an athlete. I want to be a big, strong, fast, athletic guy, couple that with my fighting skills, and you have a very dangerous guy. That's who I want to be. I don't want to be the guy that's just a walking skeleton 6 months out of the year. You know what I mean? And you know, it's paying its dividends. This morning, I woke up, I was 184. And, you know, it's like, for me, I still have to pinch myself because I see that number and I'm like, fuck, I'm still so far over. And I'm like, wait, dude, I'm fighting at 170. Like, got to pinch myself and remember sometimes, like, I'm not a lightweight anymore. So, you know, and it's funny that when I was fighting at lightweight, if anybody asked my weight, I would always lie. I would always tell you, oh, I'm 165, but it's like, yeah, I'm actually 170. Where it's like, now I can honestly tell you, like, hey, I was 184 this morning, and I'm not lying about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, dude, I can't, you know, to really prove that this was the best choice, it's really important I go out and win, you know, and easier said than done. I got a freaking tough-ass fight ahead of me. It's against a guy that I respect a lot, Carlos Condit. I mean, I still have some of his walkout shirts, his sinister walkout shirts. You know, when I was up a fighter, you know, I was buying his shirts, and I was always watching his fights, and you know, I'm a fan first, I'm a fighter second, but, you know, I've learned to put that fanboy aside and go out and perform and beat these guys that I grew up watching. I've competed against plenty of guys that I look up to, and, you know, I know that I'll be able to put that aside and go out and do what I got to do to get the win, you know, whether it's a 3-round war or a quick submission. I know I'm going to be ready for whatever Carlos throws at me, and I'm excited for the opportunity to compete against him. I got a lot of respect for the guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely coming through, even in your voice. We can feel how sort of happy and relaxed you are. I imagine that's a lot of, you know, to do with what you're talking about with the weight. Just take us back to it. When exactly was the moment that you decided, all right, enough's enough, no more cuts to 155? When exactly was it?
You know, I've always toiled with the idea. You know, this was going back to, you know, like probably after the Beneil Dariush fight. I was a pretty tough weight cut. And, you know, and it's not like I made the decision then, but going back to that, it was like, you know, I'm going to stay at 55 until I start to have some shortcomings, and then I'm going to go up to 70. You know, so it's something we'd already talked about as a team, but it's like, while you're winning, while you're rolling, you know, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I'll still keep making the win. You know, we're climbing the rankings. We're getting closer to the goal. The goal is a world championship. We know we're going to get one. You know, 155 was just a focus because that's where I've been my whole career. And, you know, the whole Kevin Lee fight happened. I didn't look at that as a shortcoming. That's another story all in itself. And then once I got done with the, you know, when I got home from Brooklyn and we started camp for the Pettis fight for the July fight, we started the second camp for Pettis. I just remember talking to Bo Sandoval here at the PI, and I was just like, man, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna beat Anthony, and then I'm gonna go up to welterweight instead of doing this on a shortcoming. You know, a lot of people make changes when they lose. That's a common thing in this sport. You know, a guy loses a couple fights and they make a change. You know what I mean? You know, I've always kind of knocked people for that. Like, oh, you lose a couple fights, you change camps, or oh, you lose a couple fights, you change weight classes. Like, and I don't think that's always the answer. So for me, I was like, you know, my plan was to beat Anthony and go up. You know what I mean? You don't see that, and I think that would have been something different. I think it would have caught a lot of people's attention. But things don't always go the way you plan them to. This is mixed martial arts. I lost, so it's I still wanted to stick. The stubborn side of me wanted to still stay at lightweight until I got the win and move up on a win. But it's like, dude, if I stay at lightweight and I win a fight, I'm gonna get sucked into staying there. You know what I mean? Like, let's make the choice now. While I'm still young, while I'm in my prime. I just turned 31. I got a lot of fighting years left. So I had pretty much made the choice before I fought Anthony. Like, hey, it's time to make that welterweight jump. It's time to get back to focusing on fighting fighters instead of fighting the scale. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, both divisions are full of killers, 155 and 170. But now that you're a part of 170, which one do you think might be tougher? Which one do you think is sort of the one with the hardest guys?
Ooh, that's a tough call. You look at lightweight, and I feel like lightweight is just it's a lot more log jammed than 170 is, and it's weird because 170 has, both weight classes have had interim champions and whatnot, but I feel like 155 is just very log jammed. You got, Khabib won the title, and then you got, Tony Ferguson was interim champ, and then he was stripped, and then now you got guys like Dustin Poirier waiting in the fringe. He's not even getting a title shot yet. Conor, if Conor wants to jump back in the party, he gets whatever he wants. You know what I mean? He's a double champ. He's one of the pound for pound best fighters in the world. So if he wants to jump in the mix, he could get a title shot if he wants it, when he wants it. So I feel like, getting away from 155, I feel like it's a little more wide open at 170. You have one champion. Granted, Tyron doesn't fight a lot as of late. He's still a phenomenal champion. You got guys like Kamaru Usman. He's a freaking beast. Darren Till, he's a beast. So now I'm looking at the challenges I look at now at welterweight is, at 155, I was like, I'm one of the bigger guys, so I'm never gonna have the size disadvantage. I'm always gonna have the size advantage. Whereas now at welterweight, it's like I don't have that size advantage, and I don't look at that as a bad thing. Like this training camp, being able to train with bigger guys, I'm landing a lot more shots. I'm doing better going with bigger guys than I do going with smaller guys. So I like the challenges ahead. I like, I just like the way I'm performing right now. So I think both weight classes are equally as tough, just in their own rights.
I was going to ask, is there sort of any dream fights of yours now that are at 170 when you look at a completely different pool? I imagine you studied 155 for so long. I know you wanted that Tony Ferguson fight for like forever. You guys were destined. But now when you look at 170, you got all these characters and contenders, guys like Colby, guys like Ben Askren, and anyone that sort of stands out to you at some point in the future?
Not really, just because I haven't been in the weight class enough.
Yeah.
It's not Tony Ferguson fight. That's always going to be one. And that's a guy that I have a lot of respect for as well. I just say that because Tony's Tony. I don't even need to get into it. You guys already know why I'm a fan of the guy.
Yeah.
He's fucking amazing. And I just always look at Tony as he's the toughest matchup for me, and he could bring out the best in me. It would be a fucking war. As a fighter, you got this sick side of you that you admire fights like Rory McDonald and Robbie Lawler too, or Brian Ortega and Max Holloway. You look at these blood and guts fights, and as a fighter, you're like, someday I want to be in one. You know what I mean? And Tony Ferguson's that guy where I know that's a surefire like blood and guts type fight. This fight with Condit could be a blood and guts type fight. I mean, look at him,
yeah.
Carlos and now Killer. This guy's been. GSP says that's the toughest fight he's ever had. You know what I mean? So I could get what I'm asking for, next weekend. Who knows? But as far as dream matchups at 170, I haven't really thought that far ahead yet. Been pretty focused on Carlos.
Yeah, well, Carlos is a legend, like you mentioned. What do you think of the Carlos that we've seen lately and the one that we see in 2018? And I suppose, what kind of Condit are you preparing for? Are you preparing for the Condit that you were a fan of back when you used to wear his walkout T-shirts?
I'm preparing for WEC Carlos Condit. I'm preparing for Don Hyun Kim, Dan Hardy, Carlos Condit. You know what I mean? That's the Carlos Condit I'm preparing for. And I don't look at him. He is a legend of the sport, but I don't look at him like that because I just don't think this is a sport where people are quick to be written off. You know what I mean? A guy could be on a 4-fight win streak get his butt kicked one time and everybody's writing him off. But 4 fights before that, that guy was a hero. You know what I mean? So I'm not looking at Carlos like that. That'd be a huge mistake. I mean, this guy, he's from a great camp. He's very well coached. I got a lot of respect for that team. You know, the guy trained side by side with John Jones. That's a pretty good training partner right there. So I'm expecting the best Carlos Condit. You know what I mean? And I think that I don't think this is the toughest matchup for me, but it is a tough matchup. I mean, Carlos he's a gamer, so I got to be sharp. I got to be, you know, I got to be on my A game that night. And I think I'm giving myself the best opportunity to win a fight like this by going up a weight class. You know, at 155, it's like, you know, it's hard to rebound from that weight cut. You got to just go out and just kind of, Anthony Smith said it best. You're kind of in a fog, so you just go put the gas pedal to the floor and hope for the best. Whereas this fight, I feel like I can be a little more cerebral. I feel like I can make a lot better choices, and I feel like, you know, if I bring my best game to the table, I think I can make this a pretty good win for me.
And by the way, we miss seeing you at the Fox analyst desk. Have you spoken to the UFC anymore about possibly doing some work with the UFC when they move to ESPN next year?
I have a good feeling that there's going to be some things in the works for me. A good friend of mine, JLP Sonnen.
Oh, it's a good friend to have.
Nice to be friends with that guy.
Yeah.
That's my boy. That's my boy. That's the man. That's the GOAT. You know, he's got good connections over at ESPN. And now that I don't have a mullet, I think I have a good shot at ESPN. So we'll see. Right now, the focus is Carlos Condit. It's been a busy year for me, a tumultuous year. Lot of lows, but I'm very focused. I'm in a good place right now. Surprisingly, I'm bouncing back. I feel good. It's good to be in camp and focused on this fight, and I think good things are in store for me in 2019.
Do you feel like this could be the first sort of real version of Michael Chiesa that people see? Because you spoke about how much you sort of drained yourself to get down to 155 and how much better you're looking now, that this could be almost like, I'm sure it's a bit of a rebirth in a lot of ways, but this could be the first time people truly see what Michael Chiesa is about, in a sense. I
do. I feel like this is going to be, I mean, I can't even get into it enough how much better I've been performing in the gym. You know, my team back home the room has been super tough. I mean, Austin Arnett just won. Sam Cecilia just won. My teammate Tyler damn near walked away with the world championship. You know, the room's been super tough. And, you know, we've always talked about how in these last few fights, I really have not shown who I am in the gym. And it's really hard, even when you're at your best, it is hard to be who you are in the gym. There's a lot of different factors going into that, you know, being under the lights and competing and this and that. But I just don't feel like I've competed to even half of my potential. I don't feel like I've competed and shown half of the fighter I am. And there's a lot of things, a lot of outside reasoning and pretty much surrounding the weight cut that's holding me back from that. So I think that you're going to definitely see a different side of me. Really, really prepared for this fight. And, yeah, I think I'm going to surprise a lot of people. I think that there's a reason why they put us on the main card. There's a reason why me and Carlos are going to be the last non-title fight of 2018. We're going to steal the show.
Wow. And on a card like UFC 232, you know the UFC are expecting big things from this fight. So as we go, Mike, just a quick prediction from you. How do you see yourself getting it done at UFC 232 against Carlos Condit?
You know, whether it's a submission or whether it's blood and guts, I just see myself having the referee raising my hand, and looking forward to having a good fight against Carlos Condit. It's going to be a fucking awesome night.
Just quickly, before we let you go, just to sort of sweeten the deal for anyone at ESPN, if you had to put your analyst hat on, do you have any predictions for the main event, John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson? Any way that you see that one going?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I haven't really
Yeah.
I saw Gustafsson yesterday here at the Performance Institute. He looks great. That guy has presence. That guy is like a real life walking Viking. Like he walks in a room like, holy crap, it's Alexander Gustafsson. Guy's tough as hell. We'll see, man. We'll see. Both guys coming off the layoff. You know, it's going to be interesting to see what each guy brings to the table. You know, we'll see. Who knows? It's going to be a tough call. I'll do better with my fight picks once I get through this fight. I've been very insecure. been very zeroed in on Carlos Condit, so I haven't really done much thinking outside of that. Outside of my teammates' fights and my fights, I have not really been paying attention to the schedule.
I feel like that's a good sign, right? You don't want to hear a fighter being like, yeah, I've been paying attention to everything except for my fight. So I feel like the fact that you've been that zeroed in, it guarantees us a good time on UFC 232, guys. Michael Chiesa vs. Carlos Condit, UFC 232, December 29th. It's going to be the 30th here in Australia and New Zealand because of the time difference. Follow the man on Twitter and Instagram at MikeMav22. And we're going to hold you to that backflip video. I hope to see you sticking one. And, of course, it's going to be on Instagram.
You will. You'll see it. It'll be good. It'll be a good one.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time and good luck at 232, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.